Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Want to talk about an element of Dungeons and Dragons, something that is a minor footnote in the equipment, but it gets attention in popular media and memes and whatnot, and that is holy water. Holy water is water has been blessed by a cleric or a paladin in a special ritual. Takes some time, takes some resources. It can be used as a thrown weapon, and when it does radiant damage when it strikes vampires or sometimes other undead. And because it is such a simple concept, it is rife for a certain amount of abuse or people attempting to game the system mathematically. And because holy water has some real world equivalents, and that there are some portions of its usage that people tend to ignore, I thought, okay, let's talk about holy water. Let's talk about holy water. If a flask of holy water does this much damage, then a barrel of holy water will do this much damage. Or alternately, we're in a swamp being attacked by undead. I bless the swamp. And that's a special case, and we'll discuss that being a special case, but let's talk us about some holy water, shall we? This is about a pound of water. It is a little over 1 pound. This is drinking water purchased from a container store. It is pretty much guaranteed potable. Nice, pure, clear. Just over 1 pint, therefore just over 1 pound. A pint is a pound the world around. What is separating this water from being holy water? The blessings of the clergy. In Judaic and certain Christian traditions, the member of the clergy can speak to this water, giving it the blessings of God, declaring it to be blessed and holy and suitable for use in church ritual and practice, such as baptism, which requires water. In Judaic tradition, more a portion of blessing temple construction, and that really for the first one. But many of you may or may not know this. I am a minister in good standing in the Church of Universal Life. I am clergy. I can and have performed weddings. That's why I have the ordination. Theoretically, philosophically, I, in the real world, can turn this into holy water by pronouncing blessings upon it and declaring it by those blessings suitable for the rituals and practices of my faith. I'm not going to. I have no need for a pint of holy water at this time, nor any time in the future that I can think of. But I could manufacture holy water with this. Would I expect it to have any effect on a vampire in the real world if such a thing existed? Probably. I mean, once we have taken that step, why not? In order to make this holy water in Dungeons and Dragons, however, in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, let's discuss the current edition. It's a little more complicated than that. In 5th edition, a cleric or a paladin has been chosen, has been dedicated to their god, has probably had conversations with their deity, receives power, can do miracles based on their connection to their deity. They can actually make light appear where none appeared before, create fires or food, or make water happen out of nothing. So right there, we have some sign that the deity is taking action in the world. Creating holy water is not just speaking some words over water. It's not just promising the water that it is now conveying the blessings and power of the deity. No. There's stuff involved in this part. To make holy water with a weight of 1 pound, to make this much holy water, I need to spend an hour as a cleric or paladin in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. I need to spend an hour performing the special ritual per pound. And I need to incorporate 25 gold pieces worth of silver powder into this pound of water. Silver makes a lot of sense, actually. Philosophically and in the occult, silver represents a certain amount of purity, the light of the moon, the pure white or reflectiveness of it. It's in some thoughts about vampires, is the fact that mirrors used to be backed by silver, a pure metal that made it impossible for vampires to see their reflection in them. Silver affects werewolves for that reason. It's a pure metal. And silver, we have discovered, has antibacterial properties. Using silver nitrate to treat infections. It's overindulge and it will turn you blue, but in proper dosages, applied correctly, it has medicinal purposes. So incorporating a certain amount of silver into your holy water just seems like a good idea. Philosophically pure and actual properties that can make it good for good things and theoretically, therefore, bad for bad things. 25 gold pieces worth of silver. Well, we can relate silver to gold. Now, how do you get silver powder? You grind up silver. Silver coins are theoretically, roughly, that's a good quality of silver. They ought to be a good quality. If your silver coins aren't a good quality of silver, that's when the revolution starts. So yes, you could grind silver coins. Let's use silver coins, the most easily measurable unit of silver in Dungeons and Dragons, for doing these calculations. 25 gold pieces in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons weighs half a pound. It takes 10 silver pieces to make 1 gold piece. That is the exchange rate in 5th edition across the board. So 250 silver pieces worth of silver in a pound of water. 250 silver pieces if 50 pieces of gold, 50 coins, weighs a pound. So 250 silver pieces, 5 pounds. It's 5 pounds. So the weight of a flask of holy water is 1. Now let us forget about the flask. Let's go ahead and do a little magic and forget about the flask. The flask is weightless. 1 pound of water. Which after the ritual weighs 1 pound. This is not just dumping powder into water and saying some words. This isn't just an hour of stirring. There is magic at play here. There is miracles at play here. This is the will of deity at play here. Creating this as a flask of holy water in D&D is not a small feat. It is not an inconsequential feat. It is not an inexpensive feat. That's 25 gold pieces just for the materials. The water, theoretically, you have a font, or you have someone creating the water, or you have a source of water. Your cathedral on the river is supplying you with all the raw materials you need for this portion of it. Now you just need the silver and the labor. Clerics and paladins generally do not live on thoughts and prayers alone. They need food. They need water. Paladins need upkeep for their armor and their equipment. You can have a paladin spend all day just making pound after pound of holy water, cranking out the pints in an 8-hour day, theoretically, having done nothing else. They can have cranked out 8 pints, a gallon. They can have cranked out a gallon of holy water a day. That will cost you 200 gold, because 25 gold piece per times 8. And what are you paying the paladin? Without the paladin there, the job isn't getting done. Without the cleric there, the job's not getting done. Sorcerer with delusions cannot make holy water. The holy water only has effect not because anyone is casting any magic into it, but because it's divine magic. Cleric or paladin, what are you paying them? I mean, there's a certain amount of supply and demand. Do we need this much holy water? And in a place where you need that much holy water, what are you paying your labor? The cleric might be able to get by with a little bit less, nice and perhaps a humble cleric, willing to subsist on soup and crumbs just to make sure the area has what it needs, through whom 200 gold pieces worth of materials a day flows through their hands, but they don't need that much food, really. Yeah, that's how to lose your supply of holy water really fast. And the paladin's like, this armor doesn't pay for itself. I'm gonna need 10 gold a day to do this, minimum. Your gallon of holy water is expensive. Your gallon of holy water the 200 gold pieces for the silver alone is only a portion of your cost. But Dungeons and Dragons characters don't care that much about money. They do some adventuring. They kill a couple of dragons. They come back with all the money that they need. They drop it down. You've got materials. You got water. The use to which holy water in the real world is put is specific. Enter a house, bless a house. Enter the house of God, bless yourself when you enter the house of God. Perform a baptism or another ritual. There aren't a lot of other uses for it. And some houses of God guard their holy water. For reasons, because people do want to use it. People might want to desecrate it for a ritual for a different faith. Or people might want to use it for something to. I want to bless my rocket launcher. I want to bless my golf clubs. It's not what it's for. So there's a certain amount of the clergy keeping an eye on the holy water that they have at hand, that they have, even real world clergy takes some time and effort, not necessarily putting 25 pounds of silver into a gallon of water. Uh, in Dungeons and Dragons, the reverence of the clergy is really, really discarded quite often. Um, the cleric is a healing class and I have had players ask me if the clerics and paladins actually have to believe in a god. Do they have to believe in a god, or can they just do the stuff? Can I have an atheist paladin? No, you can't. You can, in fact, not have an atheist paladin. And, the controversial topic, well, what if I really just don't want to do that? It's like, well, then play something else. Paladins and clerics get their power from divine grace. There is a god involved who channels their power through that cleric or through that paladin. Not just their power, but their will. The cleric and paladin are expected to proselytize a certain amount, to pronounce their god's glory and grace and sovereignty as they go about the world, smiting evil in the name of their god. Holy symbol displayed and arm forward. Does this? I'm a cleric, but I don't actually worship a god. I just heal people. You are a sorcerer with delusions, my friend. No. I'm just channeling universal divine might. You're a sorcerer. You might have a divine bloodline, but you're not a cleric. I'm a paladin, but I'm a paladin who doesn't actually believe in God. There's no God guiding me. I'm just going out and doing good things. You're a fighter. You might have an arcane subclass, but you're a fighter, my friend. Leon, you're a fighter. You're the paladin is the agent of a deity. That's the rules. That's how this works. That's what divine magic is. And conveying that, having a certain attitude of humility and reverence towards the deity which empowers you is a part of the job. When you put 25 gold pieces worth of silver into your pound of water and perform an hour stirring and performing the rituals over it that convey your God's blessing through this instrument being a pound of water, that is a gift. That is a gift the God is giving you. And you have to work for your gifts from the God sometimes. Give and take, that's the balance. But that's not something light. The most important being in your entire universe has reached out and touched something you have worked on. Curling this on a vampire, that's what it's for. Yes, you're fighting undead. Here, take this. I prepared this. It is a gift from my God. See to it that it strikes true. Hey, can you whip us up a couple of barrels of holy water? We might run into some stuff and, we'll just chuck it with the trebuchet or something and probably hit. No. One does not spam the gifts of the gods. It's just, I can see it being a playstyle of certain, and I know people for whom it is a playstyle, but it belies how important that deity and that deity's will should be to that character. You can't discount the gods in all of this. Deities in D&D are real beings with real powers affecting the real characters in that world. This is not a toy. And he's more than the paladin's sword or the paladin's armor or whatever smiting weapon the cleric carries with them. This is not something to be used lightly. It's a tool being given by the god, a gift from the god, so the paladin or cleric or those close to them can do the will of the god, which is usually smiting vampires. The swamp. Let's talk about the swamp story. We're surrounded by this, and I say I bless the swamp, and I make a really, really good roll, and then the master said I can't do it, but and everyone's like, oh, he made the roll, go ahead and let him bless the swamp. It sounds like the dungeon master's, being a little bit overbearing and killing the fun of the situation, and you can't just bless a swamp. Not the way you can bless this. For every one of these, 1 hour, 25 gold pieces worth of powdered silver. You ain't got that. Not for a swamp. A swamp is composed, I don't know if people know this, of a lot of these. It takes a tremendous number of these in order to have a swamp. If you are carrying several metric tons of powdered silver and have a year or two to conduct the rituals, you can make a swamp into this, theoretically. If the god that you are drawing your power from has a good relationship with the god who has domain over that swamp. Yes, I'm going to bless this water to my god. No, you're not, because my god says no. And then there's a war between the gods over you blessing this swamp, and even if that's a thing. On the other hand, clerics, paladins, people who have this ability to channel divinity can also occasionally call in favors. Divine intervention. In that case, blessing the swamp's absolutely appropriate. I rolled a 20 to bless the swamp. Well, that's not what you roll to bless the swamp. Not that way. Not the way that's going to work. I suppose you could customize a spell, research a higher level cleric spell or a very high level divine spell for blessing a body of water or a body partially composed of water. It would probably be unbalanced. But divine intervention is usually a percentile roll. The lower the better. You want to get somewhere under a 10. Generally. I think it's your level or lower. Now, you break that down into a percentage chance. Well, I've got a 5% chance, I've got a 10% chance. You can work that on a d20 pretty high. So you can roll the d20 for that, estimate it, or if you are a level that is divisible by 5, you can just call how many numbers at the upper end of that d20 are going to give you the result and roll that. Then that works. Not without consulting with your dungeon master first and making sure that's how we're doing this, making the deal. I'm all for riffing on the rules as you go. I'm guilty of that more often than not. There are some things that aren't generally covered by the rules that, okay, you know what? For the sake of fun, let's go ahead and do this. Blessing the Swamp's not that. Dungeon Master hat on. Dungeon Master's got a rough job. As the levels get higher in that game, the Dungeon Master's job gets harder, and that job is to provide a sufficient risk that the players at the table believe their characters are in danger. A swamp where you are being attacked by an unknown but fairly large number of undead, it might seem like a big unfair situation, and yeah, the best situations for higher level characters are big unfair ones. You don't want to know you're coming out of it in one piece. You need the risk. You need the tension. That's where the fun comes from. No one shotguns a barrel full of baby ducks and then screams, "We did it!" and goes out and has a party with fireworks. You've got risks to take. Swamp full of undead, big risk. As a dungeon master, I tend to frown on turn the adventure off buttons, which is something a lot of players, me included, from time to time, starts to look for after a while. It's like, well, I've got this big thing planned out, and there's all this. Well, is there a single point of failure that we can attack that just makes the whole thing go away? As a dungeon master, I've got to design around those. As a player, I got to find it. I want to turn the adventure off. Then I'm going to complain that there's no adventure that night, because that's the dichotomy that we live in. Blessing the Swamp is a turn the adventure off button. Well, we were going to have a lot of combat. There's going to be a lot of sword swinging and desperation and trying to get the spells off, but nah. We'll go do something else tonight. Swamp got turned off. We're all good. Undead are all gone, and there's no threat anymore. What do you guys want to do? I'm out. There are any number of reasons to no on the let's bless the swamp. Not the least of which is you can do that, but then you get to explain to everyone else at the table while they're not getting any experience tonight. I'll wait. And you hate to have to do that. You don't want to step out of it. You don't want to step fully into the meta to explain, you can't do this because I wrote a fecking adventure for the night, and you're going to fecking well play it, or you're going to complain about it. So, it's a weird dual stance. On the one hand, you want to encourage creativity and thinking outside the box and people to run around and blow stuff up. And on the other hand, you have time to fill and people at your table who want to do stuff. And when that one guy comes up with that one thing that makes the rest of the night not happen, sometimes you have to say no. Sorry, I digress. Talking about this. Well, we're talking about this in general at this point. There are costs associated with this in time and in materials. There are more costs than that actually associated with this. There is the philosophical cost. There is the theological cost. A cleric or paladin who spams holy water may find that ritual no longer works. That ritual doesn't work because the paladin is stirring and throwing silver powder into water. That ritual works because their god is looking down, seeing that ritual being done rightly and correctly, and says, yes, this is the agreement that we have had, and now I shall place my blessing into that water, so you may use it as a tool. If that starts to get abused, if you keep buying those barrels from that one cleric, and that one cleric starts to get a little fat and happy with their existence because all I got to do is sit back and stir and throw powder in, and the god's sitting up there going, you have forgotten that you know all the words, but you have forgotten why you're doing that. Let's make that not happen and let you learn it over again or not. Let's see how this goes. The sources that you spam dry up, and should. That can cost a cleric or a paladin their divine magic. They're the gifts of their station, the things that they can do specially because they have a relationship with their god. This is not just a tool. This is a test. Use it as it's intended, Okay, that is what the intent's for. That's what I gave it to you for. This is the use. Start to solve all of your problems with huge volumes of this? Like, nah, sorry. It's not what it was for. It's not why I gave you the gift. And now you no longer have the gift. See if you can figure out what you did wrong. Again, it's not like I like taking things away from players who come up with clever ways to use them. It's that sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper. It's like, well, we found a universal solution for everything. And look at all the damage we can do with just a barrel of holy water. No, stop that. That when you think you're gaming the system, the dungeon master needs to sit back and consider the system. When you think you're gaming the deity, the game master needs to sit back, have a conversation with that deity, and think, what would you do to someone who abused your gift like this? Lightning bolts out of the clear blue sky are not uncommon in these situations. That's just how this goes. When a player thinks they understand all the rules necessary to operate within that theological, deific, cleric, and paladin system, no, theology is not meant to be completely understood by mortals. It's just not. A cleric or a paladin, with their proficiency in religion, have a better grip on these things than many others. But don't start thinking you have outwitted the gods. There are no Greek tragedies that start out the hero outwitted the gods and everything worked out perfectly for them. That's not how these things work. It was tempting to bless this for the video, but that would not be the use for which the gift is intended. I'm going to drink this later. Thank you very much for following me along in this particular rant. I see these volumes of calculations on, well, a barrel of holy water contains this many pints of holy water, and every pint of holy water does this much damage. So for just this much gold, you can do this much damage to, and no. Sometimes, particularly when you're dealing with deific magic, use as intended or suffer consequences. Read the labels. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, if you've got your own opinions on holy water or how things like this should be used, or deific magic in Dungeons & Dragons, go ahead and leave me a comment below. Anything you'd like to hear me talk about, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. I invite you to hit the subscribe button, please. And if you do, you might want to hit the notification bell so you are alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I would ask you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.